really get into my flow, I can kind of, forget about the cancer stuff for a little bit. It gets my mind off things. The wax carving I do is a really meditative process.
Nicole is a fine jewelry designer who primarily works on engagement rings. In February of 2025, she was on her way to a gem show with her best friend when she felt something was off.
I was getting in the car and put my seatbelt on, and the seatbelt kind of touched this part of my chest, and it felt like I felt like a weird pain or like a shock feeling there. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I felt something there, and I was like, oh, maybe it's a cyst because I have fibrous, dense breast tissue, and I've had cysts in the past. But I thought, how strange, that shouldn't happen right after your period. It's usually before. But I thought, well, I don't really have time to find a new doctor right now. I'll do it right after the trip.
After the trip, Nicole went to a gynecologist.
And he did an exam, and he seemed nervous, which made me nervous. And he brought in his nurse and everything, and he did a breast exam on me, and he was like, yeah, the temperature is even different on each side. He's like, I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of concerned, and we need to, push for a rushed diagnostic mammogram. But I really had to advocate hard for myself because I'm 42. A lot of people think I'm in my 30s. So younger women are not often taken seriously.
This wouldn't be the first time Nicole had a mammogram. She has a history of cysts.
In my mind, I felt pretty sure that something was really wrong. I felt like it was cancer in my gut, but I was hoping it was like, oh, it's caught early. They basically wanted to schedule me like appointments with like oncology already before I even had the biopsy because of the wait lists and stuff. And so I just felt like it's cancer, but I hope it's not the bad one, or I hope we caught it early, the things that people think. I was trying to stay positive and just think like, well, I caught it early. I cried a lot because I was scared. And I was also starting to really like become fatigued all the time. And like I'm sure some of it was probably mental, but also I didn't know how fast the cancer was growing.
Nicole knew it was breast cancer at this point, but her care team wasn't telling her what subtype or stage she was. It was through her gynecologist that she finally found out it was triple negative, an aggressive form of breast cancer.
And by the time I saw my surgical oncologist 4 weeks later, it had grown so much. My medical oncologist moved very fast because she takes triple negative very seriously, and had scheduled like my port surgery, which is how I get blood work and medicines. I don't know what I drank for. Did you see my port? And she scheduled a PET scan, and that's when it was revealed to me that I was stage 4. I met with her for chemo education. Instead of doing chemo education that day, she's changed the whole plan and told me I was stage 4. And it was a very traumatic doctor's experience, although she was so compassionate and sat with me while I was crying my eyes out. She sat with me for hours and called my partner for me, with me right there to explain what news I had gotten, and also see if he'd be willing to pick me up because I just was not in a place to be able to drive myself. I was really distraught.
This news is super devastating to me and my family. I do not have a history of breast cancer in my family. I am really welcoming the support of my community.
So by the time I had the PET scan, it was revealed that the breast cancer had spread to my liver, and they were smaller size in the liver. I mean, one good thing is my doctor told me if I hadn't been as proactive as I had, I probably wouldn't be alive.
After the stage 4 diagnosis, Nicole asked her oncologist not to share a prognosis with her.
But I told her, don't give me a timeline on my life because that will discourage me horribly. And I just don't want to know. I want to keep hopeful. And I want to live a full life. I have things I want to do. And There's no cure for triple negative breast cancer or metastatic breast cancer in general, even though there are different subtypes of breast cancer. But there is a possibility of becoming no evidence of disease, which is kind of like the remission. But breast cancer itself is a systemic disease for the most part.
Nicole started on chemotherapy as her first line of treatment.
I did 2 months of the first treatment and it was not working at all. The tumor grew like a lot. And because of that, I developed an infection because my lymph nodes weren't working properly. It was all in my lymph nodes. And the lymph nodes were almost as large as the primary tumor in my breast. So unfortunately, I had lots of symptoms, and I didn't know what to expect. Like, they tell you like it should be shrinking, or you will experience less pain, you'll experience more energy on the times you're not doing chemo.
Because the treatment wasn't working, Nicole's oncologist shifted her to a targeted therapy known as an antibody drug conjugate. The tumor finally started shrinking, and Nicole did a mastectomy.
I actually had to wait several months of doing the targeted chemo I'm on now in order for everything to shrink down so there would be enough healthy skin to do a flat closure on this side. And that's what I opted for. It wasn't recommended for me to do expanders and implants. That's a common reconstruction for breast cancer, due to the need to be off chemo for, 6 weeks. And so I more recently had mastectomy surgery. It was my wish to have the tumor taken out early on when I saw my medical oncologist, Dr. Mitchell. And she advised me, like, we can't take you off treatment to do surgery, but someday down the road, if you're responding well, we can discuss that. And she did. She really advocated for me to get it out, and listened to me. And I have a wonderful surgical oncologist as well who did the surgery.
After the mastectomy, Nicole has continued with treatment and dove into the space of advocating for breast cancer patients.
The type of cancer I have is typically treatment for life. And so there are always new treatments, new clinical trials. I did win a scholarship to go to the San Antonio Breast Cancer Research Symposium in December. And I'll be representing my fellow MBC sisters and brothers at that conference as a patient advocate, as well as like I've just received a lot of neat opportunities. So that keeps me going even though I have to do chemo. And I will say that the targeted drug I'm on has only been around for a short time. It's actually still in some clinical trials. It's approved for metastatic TNBC. But it's been truly wonderful.
My name is Nicole, and I'm living with metastatic breast cancer. You might not even know that. If you were to run into me on the street wearing my wig, you may never know that I have this horrible disease.
This treatment has been a lifesaver for me. And so, yeah, I continue to do the treatment and will. And then my doctor and I plan to revisit things like radiation if needed. I have a couple somatic mutations in the cancer I have, which means I wasn't born with them. They developed sometime after birth. The mutations, it wasn't something passed to me genetically. Treatments and the research are just getting better and better. And that's why it's not a death sentence. It's good to be sensitive that some people consider they've had a really rough time and they may have more extensive cancer than me. So I'm mainly speaking about my own personal experience. And I think it's okay if somebody wants to label their cancer as terminal, or I personally don't. I get kind of upset being labeled that. My doctors don't talk to me that way. And miracles happen all the time. Spontaneous healing happens. Targeted drugs keep getting better and working so that people who have metastatic breast cancer can live a long life. I personally love to see people that have no evidence of disease and are thriving and doing well, taking vacations, dancing their way through some of these horrific experiences. There are lots of really wonderful people in the community who have their hopes high, and they're not taking those old statistics and applying it to themselves, and they're not limiting themselves. And I think that that's truly inspiring.
Since her diagnosis, Nicole says her mental health has been impacted.
I had to increase my antidepressant, and get specific cancer therapy. I work with a cancer therapist at my cancer center, and that has been invaluable. um, just having a team, really, because I work with a palliative doctor as well. And some people might think that that means hospice, but hospice is a form of palliative care, but not all palliative care is hospice. I'm doing extremely well.
One thing that has kept Nicole going has been her jewelry business.
I am someone that gets bored pretty easily, but it has been so important for me to be able to continue making my work.
There was before you, and there was during you. For some reason, I never thought there would be an after you.
I am really thankful. I have a wonderful team that's in Tennessee, of goldsmiths that I can trust them, so they are able to do the tasks that I just don't have energy and time for. And that frees up my time to work on the stuff I really want to work on, which is designing and sculpture and connecting with people online.
We're going to be raising funds for metastatic breast cancer research.
And I feel like I've experienced that a lot, even with cancer, and it's enabled me to get through the really tough stuff. So the wax carving I do is a really meditative process. And, there are studies that show like meditation is very helpful for the mind and dealing, and it's not something you need to need special equipment. You don't have to go somewhere. You don't have to pay for something. You can do it, in your own way, whether that's journaling or, putting together a puzzle or doing a coloring book. And that's kind of what wax carving is for me. When I really get into my flow, I can kind of, forget about the cancer stuff for a little bit, gets my mind off things. I am just thankful that I can use both hands, for instance, and I can sit and do my work that I love doing, even if I have to take more breaks. It's definitely affected my ability to put out as much work, but one thing I'm really proud of is being able to stay on top of orders due to my team in Tennessee that I work alongside.
Nicole's biggest advice, though, be your own best advocate.
Trust your intuition in everything, because even though doctors are wonderful, they're not living in your body and they're not experiencing what you're experiencing. And if you feel strong push to get further testing, more information, to see a different doctor, to get a second opinion, I highly encourage that. I've been fortunate to really love the doctors I've initially worked with. However, it's not everyone's experience. And I would just say keep pushing for the things that you need, because at the end of the day, if you don't get something you need or something is not treated as urgently as you feel it should be, you're the one that has to live with the results of that. And not some receptionist who is not taking any of the requests personally because they just don't have the bandwidth. Just know that you have a lot to empower yourself, and there are a lot of resources, and there are a lot of people who really care and want to see you do well.